Anytime the federal government comes in and wants to get in the middle of local government, I don't know how that's a good thing. The consent decree, when it was announced, the city of Louisville and LMPD in particular started making reforms right then. They didn't wait.
The long-awaited consent decree agreement in Louisville may soon be reconsidered. It's our top story here at 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shay McAllister.
And I'm Doug Proffitt. More on the story we first got on the air for you at 11 o'clock last night. The Louisville consent decree, just announced in December, could soon be history. The U.S. Department of Justice is putting recent agreements in the final days of the Joe Biden presidency on hold. Our Ian Hartwitt has been getting reaction to this fast-moving turn of events today on this decree, which has been negotiated for many, many months, Ian.
Yeah, Doug, you heard from Councilman Jeff Hudson just a minute ago. Republicans on Metro Council, they don't want the federal government's oversight when it comes to this consent decree. However, he did say it makes some recommendations on reforms the city could implement itself. Now, between a crisis diversion center, de-escalation training in jiu-jitsu for officers, and a ban on no-knock warrants, the councilman said the city's already on track for reform. However, Councilwoman Shamika Parrish-Wright, a Democrat, acknowledged that progress. If the federal consent decree disappears, she said she wants to create her own local legislation mirroring those reforms.
And just because Trump and his administration has decided that it's not a priority for them, we compel and we want your help as community, as media, as families of victims to help us compel our mayor to do what's right by Louisville and enter in our own agreement that we can monitor in the best way possible.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg has committed himself and Chief Paul Humphrey to the changes they agreed to in this consent decree. Now, I want to say one more thing about this stalling. This would have been a problem even before this memo came out. That's because the judge behind this, Benjamin Deaton, he said there are some questions that still need to be answered by the DOJ in this. For instance, how many instances of excessive lethal force or non-lethal force has LMPD used? That's something the DOJ didn't come out and explicitly say during these court proceedings.
All right, Ian.
And the judge right now he's been reviewing it. We've been waiting for a decision, and then of course this happens after Inauguration Day.
He may not even have to make a decision. The memo said that this is something that the administration is going to reconsider, and if they consider it one way, there may not be a decision to be made.
Okay, we're going to find a little more on that in just a second. Coming up in just 15 minutes, right here at 5, Metro Police Chief Paul Humphrey, who was on the city's negotiating team for the decree, is going to be joining us for a live interview. How will police reform work in Louisville if President Donald Trump rolls it out of here and that federal judge decides not to approve it? That's all just ahead.
But first, a check of the weather with meteorologist Ben Pine right here in the Weather Center. I am so ready for that white to move on out, Doug. I want
look
some.
Look at the sky, though, Shay. It looks like snow could come down any minute. And is it happening as we speak, Ben?
Yeah, look close there. Southern Indiana getting some more snowflakes out there.
Late-breaking snow flurries.
It's kind of a little mini cold front moving through. So we actually made it to 40 today. Tomorrow we're going to be back down to around 30 degrees before we get the more significant warm-up for this weekend. So it is cloudy out there, and we are getting some flurries. I've had some of these snowflakes move through Salem and Paoli too over the last hour. Right now we're in the mid-30s, wind chills mid-20s. So obviously chilly, but not as severely cold as what we've had over the last several days at 30 degrees in Seymour. So a little colder behind that front now, 31 in Mitchell, 32 in Jasper. Warmest to the south, we're at 37 in Campbellsville and Munfordville. And thankfully the winds are pretty light, so not much added wind chill, but feeling like the 20s in spots. So we have the cloud cover, and here you can see where we do have those flurries flying around the area, seeing a little bit of snow shower there around Paoli and up around Brownstown and closing in on Seymour as well. Pretty dry over most of our Kentucky spots at the moment, but these flurries will be moving through off to the southeast over the next several hours. Really no impact from that as we are at or above freezing, and it will be very light and brief. Lows will be in the teens for tonight, and then we'll see temperatures only around 25 to 30 for tomorrow. But as we head into the weekend, we'll start to get back to normal, and we've got some 40s on the way. So cold breezes tonight, low 17, single-digit wind chills, 24 at noon tomorrow, and that forecast high up to 30 degrees. We'll show you that warmer 7-day forecast coming up.
Ben, thank you. More of our top stories at 5 right now. The Louisville Fire Department's arson unit investigating what led to a house fire in Old Louisville. According to the Louisville Fire Department, crews headed to this vacant home, and again, a vacant home on East Ormsby Avenue at about 8:45 this morning. And the firefighters arrived on the scene within 3 minutes to find the two-story home in flames. Captain Donovan Sims says while they had no problems putting out the blaze, crews have to be more aware given the cold weather.
Got to be careful with all the ice that's still kind of sitting around. We are flowing water. It's freezing temperatures. So the members did a good job just mitigating that issue and getting the fire knocked down in a quick manner.
After several searches, firefighters say crews responded to the same property for another fire back in April of 2021. The fire department says nobody was found in this morning's fire and no injuries have been reported.
Trial is delayed for Clark County Councilor and former friend of Jamie Knoll, John Miller. Miller is accused of approving funding for New Chapel EMS while at the same time receiving gifts from Knoll, who was running that operation. His trial has now been postponed until October 27th. At this time, it's scheduled to be held in Clark County with a jury brought in from out of town.
And today, the Kentucky Secretary of State is partnering with business owners to end human trafficking in Kentucky. It's a big problem that also gets worse around Louisville every year around the Kentucky Derby time. Secretary of State Michael Adams wants business owners to be more involved and help the state spot illegal activity. Adams calling human trafficking modern-day slavery. And employees at liquor stores, hotels, and transportation businesses are often a point of contact for women being trafficked.
It's so important to talk about these things, to give survivors and victims hope, and to show that we are working on it. Kentucky businesses obviously have and can play a big role in raising that awareness and being part of the solution to stop trafficking.
The Secretary of State is sharing packets of information for businesses to go with over their employees, and you can find a link to get one of those packets sent to you on the Secretary of State's website.
I think people are not going to buy an EV because of the incentive. They're going to select a car. They're going to buy a car because they want it.
And right here tonight, the Biden administration making it clear they want Americans to start investing in electric vehicles. But now an executive order from President Donald Trump could change incentives that entice you to buy one of them. A $7,500 federal tax incentive and long-term project to install charging stations across the country are all now in limbo.
Jose Alonso reached out to some of those local dealerships selling electric vehicles. They told him even if these perks disappear, they still feel strong about the market.
With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
Right after his Inauguration Day speech, President Trump signed an executive order named Unleashing American Energy, a promise that could potentially change a $7,500 federal tax credit for consumers purchasing electric vehicles. Auto Group of Louisville says if incentives for electric vehicles are cut for a better overall economy, that it's worth taking a hit.
I think that fear has been overcame where incentives are no longer a requirement to allow people to make their own personal choice.
Co-owner of the company, Edgar Migirov, sells multiple brands of EVs and believes the market has proven they're here to stay.
50% of people that do come in qualify for those incentives, and 50% buy it simply because that's the preference.
Even higher luxury brands at Bluegrass Automotives are seeing stable sales. President of the company, Jim Haynes, says as of Thursday, the tax credit is still in play when purchasing a new electric vehicle.
If you put $7,500 on a car that nobody wants, it's not going to sell. You got to want the car. You have to have a compelling product.
President Trump also put a pause on federal funding to create EV charging stations across the country.
Our cars have software that know where the nearest EV station is, so they will route you so you're never stranded on the road running out of a charge.
I also reached out to Blue Oval SK, who are building a battery manufacturing plant in Hardin County in partnership with Ford Motor Company. In a statement, they say, quote, "We will monitor changes made by the current administration and adapt as needed. However, our vision of electrification remains a key part of the future. We will continue to work with local, state, and federal agencies to achieve that mission." In Louisville, Jose Alonso, WHAS11 on your side.
We also contacted the Ford Motor Company on this to see if it'll impact their commitment to making electric vehicles. They say at this time they have no comment.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is responding to concerns about the executive order impacting electric vehicles. Speaking today at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, Governor Beshear said that while it may interrupt the cash flow from a federal level, he ultimately is not worried about it.
EVs were picking up steam before the Biden administration, and they're going to continue after the Biden administration. The speed may be different. The government dollars coming in may be different. A lot of people have tried to fight the future. Nobody's ever won. We know this is a big part of the future. And as the CEO of Volvo said this week, if you're not brave enough to invest before the inflection point, you get left behind.
According to the Environmental Defense Fund, nearly $14 billion in electric vehicle and battery investments have been announced for Kentucky. Those investments are set to help create more than 15,000 jobs.